Hey everybody, welcome to the Yak Tribe community channel. I am Scott Kennedy and I am here to show y'all just a quick little video on how I'm getting set up for summer fishing here in Alabama. I'm sure as you can tell by the sweat rolling down my face, it is summer's here. It's hot, summer's here, and summer fishing is here, which is always a good thing. But I just wanted to kind of go over a few things, baits I use, gear I kind of put on my kayak, and how I set my kayak up for summer fishing. But we're just gonna go ahead and jump straight into it. We're gonna go, go over a few of the baits. Some of my favorite baits. Some of these are great, secret baits. So y'all be sure to keep these a secret. And all of these are gonna be real handy if any of you guys plan on coming to the Yak Tribe meetup here in Alabama. I believe that's tail end of the summer. All of these baits are gonna be working well, and you get to use them on my home waters. So definitely a good video to tune into if you guys are planning on doing that, or if you have any plans to come to Alabama and do any fishing anytime soon. But what I always like to start out with, I'm definitely a morning time fisherman. I like to get out early, right before the sun rises, and take advantage of that morning time bite. And being in the summer, morning time's usually going to have your coolest water temperatures, and that's one thing we do deal with here down in the south part of the country is we get really high water temperatures in the summer. It's not unusual for us to get out and that water temperature be 80, 85 degrees, sometimes even pushing 90 degrees. So definitely want to get out early in the morning. But what that also leads you to be able to do is a lot of top water fishing. And top water is by far my favorite way to fish. There's not really anything better than watching a redfish or a speckled trout or anything for that matter come up and just smack a top water. And I'll just kind of show y'all my three, main things that I start with. If I'm fishing deeper water, open water with a lot of bigger baits around, I always start out with the bigger. This is the head-on one knocker. This is kind of that pink and gold side color. Very good color. I also like to use the chartreuse and silver side. But honestly, I'm not sure the top waters, the color makes a whole lot of a difference. I think, it's more of the catching the fisherman than the fish. But if I'm fishing, if I'm fishing that, I'm getting a lot of short strikes, not committing, not hooking up, then I'll switch over to the Super Spook Junior, and this is the pink silver side, another great color. And one thing you guys will notice is I always kind of err towards pink on the top water. But like I said, I don't think that really makes a whole lot of a difference. Kind of the third top water I like to keep with me, and this is more for like the redfish if I start getting kind of back in the marshy areas, some real shallow stuff, real tight areas where I need my bait to be a little bit quieter. Those head-on spooks and stuff are very loud baits, which is great for the specks and everything, but once we get back into the marsh, we need to be a little bit quieter, not try to spook those fish as bad as especially the redfish. Then I'll switch over to this one. This is the Skitterwalk Junior. This is a Rapala Skitterwalk Junior, and that is a great, got a little deeper knock to it, a little quieter, a little smaller profile bait. This has by far been the best bait I've found for redfish as far as top water. It's kind of a smaller bait. They're able to get it in their mouth a little bit easier, and it's a great bait to keep. So those are three good top waters to keep in your mix. Of course, there's a lot of different types of top waters. Like I know Heath, he really likes the she-dogs, and I've had luck with the she-dogs and the she-pups and everything, but I do like to stick with my my spooks and one knockers and skitterwalks. Next thing I always like to keep, once we move into the morning, top water bites kind of slowing down a little bit. We're getting some strikes. They're not committing, not catching too many fish. Things are slowing down. Then I like to go a little subsurface, pretty close to the top of the water column, but still, just getting it down just a little bit more to get them to commit. Then I'll whip out the good old Mirrodines. That is a jam up bait down here, the Mirrolure Mirrodine. You cannot go wrong with it. Just a good old twitch paws, and they absolutely smoke it. But can't go wrong with the tried and true red and white. That is always a good one to use. Have yet to be anywhere that the tried and true red and white hasn't really got them to commit. So that's always a good one. And then a chartreuse. I'm a big believer in chartreuse when I get down into the water column. And it's just real flashy, something real bright. Here in Alabama we do have a lot of stained water. We do get our clean water from time to time, but a lot of times it's stained. So I like something a little brighter, flashier to kind of really grab their attention. Now if I'm fishing that and I'm just catching a bunch of small ones and I know there's some bigger fish in the area, kind of like what I was saying with the top waters, if there's a lot of big baits in the water, especially if you get a lot of pogies in the water, and that's very common. especially around Mobile Bay in the summertime, is we get a lot of big pogies. I will step it up to the Miradyne XL, which is the 27 MR. There we go. This is the 27 MR. This is just kind of the olive back with the chartreuse side, red eye. And it's a very good bait, just like the, you know, the Miradyne regular, the 17 MR. But that 27 MR helps you step it up. You know, if there's some bigger fish and you're wanting to get away from the little fish, just that little bit bigger size can make all the difference in the world for you. Past that, you know, of course, if I'm fishing some deeper water, I need something to get down a couple feet. Then I'll pick up some jig heads. I'll pick up some paddle tails, some soft plastics. And I'm a big believer in the matrix shads for the specs, at least. You know, this is the lemon head 3-inch matrix shad. Very good. You know, just a bright chartreuse. Like I said, once I get it down into the water column, I do like to use a chartreuse. When I'm on top, I like pinks and, you know, kind of chartreuses as well. Big believer in chartreuse. You cannot go wrong with chartreuse. Pretty much anywhere. Everywhere I've been on the Gulf Coast, chartreuse has worked, but especially here on the Gulf Coast in Alabama. Another color I like to use if I'm fishing, you know, a little further east, kind of along the Alabama-Florida line, the water's a good bit cleaner over there, or if I'm fishing off the beach or anything like that, I like to switch over to something a little bit, you know, a little bit brighter, or I'm sorry, less bright color, something a little more natural. This is the ultraviolet matrix shad. It's kind of a white clear with a little bit of a purple top, just kind of a real light purple top. And that is a great bait to use in clean water. Something that you gotta be a little more subtle with. You don't want quite as much flash to scare the fish away. And what I'll usually rig those up on, you know, if I'm fishing grass flats or a lot of submerged structure or anything, I got the, I've been started using these old Texas-eye jig heads from High Strike Fishing. And that gives you a weedless hook with kind of a swing jig head on it. And that's good, you know, like I said, if you're fishing grass flats, you're not constantly picking up grass or anything. But if I'm fishing, you know, area that's got a sandy bottom, kind of a muddier bottom, not as much stuff in the water to snag on, then I'll just go with the regular old jig head. This is another Eye Strike. I'm a big believer in the Eye Strike jig heads. They hold the bait on the hook really well, really sharp hooks, real, you know, good quality hooks, so you don't have to worry about bending it out if you hook a big redfish or anything like that. So I always like to keep some jig heads. I usually go with, you know, 1/4 ounce to an 1/8 ounce, just kind of depending on how deep I'm fishing. If I'm fishing some shallower stuff, wanting to get to the bottom, I'll go 1/8 ounce. And if I'm fishing deeper water, want to get it down quicker, I'll go with that 1/4 ounce. But you know, other soft plastics that I use, and I use these more like when I go into the, you know, the marshy areas, stained water, looking for redfish. These are the Slayer Inc. SSTs, and this is kind of the tiger bait color. You know, just a gold bottom, chartreuse tail, and a purple top. Cannot go wrong with that. I know it's we're not in Louisiana. We shouldn't be using Louisiana colors, but I'm a big believer in the tiger bait color. It does very well for me. But other than that, you know, there's only one other bait I like to carry with me, and it's never the bait I want to work with, but some days you have to go with it, especially like the past couple weeks we've had just a massive push of shrimp into the area. A lot of the fish around here are keyed in on shrimp. That's really what they want to eat, is just anything shrimp. So that's the case, and I need to search out, you know, try to find some fish. Good old popping cork. Cannot go wrong with the popping cork. It is a little bit slower. You know, when I'm fishing, I like to run and gun, go as quick as I can. So this bait does make me slow down a little bit, which kind of drives me crazy. But some days you got to do it. Some days this is all that works. But it's just a, you know, good old popping cork, weighted bottom, nice rattles. Color doesn't really matter on the cork. And then I'll usually rig it up with a voodoo shrimp. This is the pearl with the chartreuse tail. Any kind of pearl color, glow color. You know, I've used chartreuse tail, pink tail, orange tail. They all do really well. But that's just to make a lot of noise. You got some really stained dirty water. We've had a lot of rain. You gotta make a lot of noise, and you know, imitates that shrimp really well. And I will usually cover that up, you know, Procure, you know, shrimp flavored Procure, just to give them a little taste of something when they grab it, because they are notorious with the popping cork for grabbing it and spitting it right back out. So if you give them a little bit of taste, they'll hang on to it just a little bit longer. All right, and a couple pieces of gear that I always make sure I have on my kayak, especially in the summertime. Good pair of fish grips. Always want to have a pair of fish grips with you. You know, everything down here, pretty much except for redfish, has teeth. You don't want to be sticking your hands in something with teeth. You'll regret that, and I have learned that lesson quite a few times. So it's always nice to have a pair of fish grips. You know, helps you unhook the fish, helps you avoid getting bit or anything. Next piece of gear, and it is by far the most important piece of gear that I bring with me on my kayaks 100% of the time, is a landing net. I use this as just the Everlast floating landing net, and you know, it's good for the kayaks. If you drop it off the side, it'll float. You don't have to worry about it. I've actually dropped this net on trips before, you know, some of my guided trips several times, and you know, we lose it for an hour and then kind of trace our steps back and find it floating. Real bright orange so you can see it. But that is, you know, redfish do not like to calm down. Even when you get them in the net, they freak out. So having that net, being able to scoop them up beside the kayak avoids, you know, losing a lot of fish, and you know, just increases your landing rate a good bit. And then especially like speckled trout, the bigger speckled trout, they have a paper thin mouth, just like a crappie or something. So if you don't get them right there in that jawbone, you will pull the hook on them. It's not an if, you know, maybe you'll get lucky boat flipping them. No, you will lose that fish trying to boat flip them. So having that net avoids them shaking as you're pulling them up or anything, avoids them losing that fish right at the boat, and avoids a lot of heartbreak. So that net is definitely something you want to have. But that basically covers all the bases. The only thing I do with my kayak to prepare for summer over winter is I make sure it is absolutely as dirty as possible, because they say a clean kayak doesn't catch fish. So one tip I will give you, if you're coming down, just throw a bunch of mud on your kayak. It's kind of like the good luck charm down here. It's the local thing. Everybody does it here, so just trust me on that. Make your kayak extremely dirty and you will catch more fish. But that's basically gonna do it for me for today. I know Heath wanted this to be about 5 minutes. We have run over 5 minutes quite a bit. I think this is gonna be a little closer to 10 minutes. So, appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure you check out all the Yak Tribe channels, you know, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that. Make sure you check me out at Kayaking Kennedy on Instagram and YouTube. And you can look at my business page on Facebook, Whistling Waters Kayak Fishing and Outdoors. And if you guys are interested in a guided trip or anything, shoot me a message on any of those things. He's probably gonna kill me for being so long, so I'm gonna get out of here real quick. But y'all, like I said, appreciate you tuning in, and we will see you next time.